Emergency meeting. What is up, guys? It is E and T building, and today, for today's video, we will be getting into King and Queen of the Ring and who we think is going to win King and Queen of the Ring. Okay, I will be giving you guys my top five from each side and who I think will be King and Queen of the Ring this year in 2026. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this video. Okay, without further ado, let's start off with mentioning my top five. So now starting off at number five for the men's side, who I think can win King of the Ring. The brackets have already started. Obafemi has already qualified, as you know. But I'm gonna say who else I think can qualify and who else I think will qualify in King of Queen of the Ring. So starting off at number five for me is going to have to be CM Punk. Well, we all know that CM Punk we last seen CM Punk when he faced Roman Reigns this year at WrestleMania 42 in the main event in night two when Roman Reigns beat him for the World Heavyweight Championship. And we haven't really seen that much of CM Punk yet, but I do think that soon, sometime within this month of June, that CM Punk will be making a return into the ring and he will be gunning, and I think there's gonna be something interesting going on to where he is inserted into King of the Ring. I'm not really sure how they're gonna do that, but I do think that CM Punk in some way, shape, form will be um could win King of the Ring. Let's say a situation happens where Brock does take Oba out next week in the not next week, but close to the semifinals, and they insert CM Punk some way, and CM Punk is involved in that. Wouldn't that be interesting? So yeah, I just think don't sleep on CM Punk. So number five, CM Punk. Okay, now with that being said, let's move on to number four. So, without being said, number four, who I have for the men, I think it's going to be from the men's side. I will have to say it was tough, but I'm gonna go with oh my god, I'm totally went blank, guys. Wait, give me a second. Wait, I think it's going to be none other than Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre has a strong chance of being King of the Ring. I think, of course, he's not on TV right now, but I think he's going to make a return also, and I think that he can be an asset in King of the Ring and potentially win the whole thing. Um, like I said, I'm not really sure how they would insert him into that, knowing that he's not in the bracket. But I think that they can do something interesting with that, especially since he is over on SmackDown. I think there's some story they might be able to tell, hopefully, with that. And yeah, so I'm gonna pick number four, Drew McIntyre. Okay, with that being said, getting to number three. Number three for me is going to be um, Karrion Cross. Um, yes, Karrion Cross has not been on TV, and you're probably like, Karrion Cross, what? But I don't know. WWE is in an interesting state right now where they are just bringing back people for nostalgia and just bringing back people just because. And why not bring back Karen Cross? I know they did get rid of him and released him. Well, his contract was up and he chose not to sign with WWE. Understandable. But I think that they may be able to bring Karrion Cross back, and him winning a King of the Ring would set a huge tone in him. Like, I really think that he can become King of the Ring. Um, yeah. So with that being said, number three, Karrion Cross. So now it gets where it gets difficult, guys, and we get into our top two. So yeah, top two. I went back and forth with this, but yeah, I just don't see it any other way. Um, so my number two is going to be Randy Orton. I think that Randy Orton has to. Hopefully, that I don't know if his injury how bad his injury, severely his injury back injury is, but I'm hoping that he can make a return um during this tournament, and that'll be pretty interesting to tell a story about. Let's say he does return um the night of um King and Queen of the Ring, and like I said, the whole situation with Brock and Oba. What if? No, I don't know, but I'm gonna say something on SmackDown happens and Randy's inserted because I don't really know how he would be inserted into it, and like I said, it depends on how severely his back injury is. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Oba. I'm gonna go with Randy for number two. So with that being said, now we get down to the wire. Um, so without being said, my number one overall is going to be the one and only, the ruler, Obafemi. Obafemi looked strong and looked dominant during his match that he had on Monday Night Raw this past weekend, and he won his bracket. So now he is heading on to the semifinals. Do I think he's going to win it? Absolutely deserves a chance, and I absolutely think he's a credible challenger to win it, and he's a strong contender to win it because I don't see anybody else like physically being able to dominate or get past Obafemi. But with that being said, he also has the feud going on with Brock Lesnar, and we all know that Brock Lesnar can definitely interfere in that match and cost him the match. And then that being said, someone else is going to win. Not exactly sure, but yeah, my number one pick is gonna have to be Obafemi because it makes sense for Obafemi to go and face Roman, especially since that's where they were setting up after WrestleMania. So yeah, I think Obafemi has a strong chance of winning. But with that being said, y'all, that is my oh sorry. So, anyways, moving on, we are going to the Queen of the Ring. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you my top five, who I think is going to win Queen of the Ring. So, for my five women, who I think is going to win Queen of the Ring, my top five is going to be Jacy Jayne. So, Jacy Jayne has showed up on SmackDown with Fatal Influence, and they have been causing wreck. If you all have known, JC owns a win over Charlotte Flair, pretty much stating that they are here to stay and that they are credible contenders and that, yeah, Fatal Influence is here to take over and take part. And I do think that Lainey Reed and Fallon Henley will be getting those tag titles, which means I do think Jacy Jayne is going to be going after the WWE Women's Championship. So, with that being said, Jacy Jayne most likely is my top five, and I think she will be going after the Women's Championship. Even if she doesn't win it, her winning the tournament would submit her and be like, "Hey, I'm here to stay, and I'm not to be played with, and I'm coming for your title." So that being said, Jacy Jayne top five. So now moving on to number four for my Queen of the Ring. I'm going to go with number four. Even though she lost, I'm gonna go with. Uh, Actually, no, we're gonna change that, and we're gonna go with um, Charlotte Flair. I do think Charlotte Flair is a strong contender in here. Putting her at number four is kind of crazy, but I don't know. Some people are saying that Charlotte is the favorite to win Queen of the Ring, and I think that because she's the favorite to win Queen of the Ring, I don't think she is going to win Queen of the Ring, if that makes any sense. However, I do want her to win Queen of the Ring, and she kind of needs to win Queen of the Ring because Rhea has no other challenger on SmackDown right now, and anybody else who wins, I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I think four is number Charlotte, and yeah. So, anyway, moving on to number three in the Queen of the Ring tournament, I have nonetheless um, Lyra Valkyria. So, with this being said, Lyra Valkyria has also was in the finals in 2024 Queen of the Ring when she faced Nia Jax. However, she did not come close to winning. So, I think now would be a good time to move her along in the tournament again. Probably not in the finals again, but definitely probably a semifinals. I don't know, but I can see Lara winning Queen of the Ring if they want to submit a new talent. Um, so yeah, that's why I have Lyra number three. So yeah, that's pretty it. Okay, moving on, we have number two, and I'm going to go with none other than Raquel Rodriguez. So if you guys already know, Raquel is in the tournament, and she has a strong chance of like making it far to the finals. Because if we do know, Liv Morgan is in the tournament too, but she's the women's champion. She should not be winning any Queen of the Ring tournament in the finals, semifinals, nothing like that. Because yeah, she should not even be in the tournament to begin with because she's the women's world champion. They should be vying to go after her. Why is she in the tournament to begin with? But that's another story. Um, yeah. So number two is that's my number two pick. Moving on. So we have our final pick and number one. We have none other than the credible contender to win this whole entire thing, and who I think is going to win this whole thing. No other than Io Sky. So if you guys know, Io Sky has qualified for the semifinals. She was in a match this past Monday Night Raw against Lash Legend Julia and Roxanne Perez, and of course, with no being surprised, she picks up the pinfall on Julia. So yeah, I think Io is definitely going to win the Queen of the Ring. I think she either is going to face Rhea or Liv. Pretty sure that'll be an interesting story if she does go after Rhea, because they can finish telling that story about Rhea never being able to beat Io. So that'll be pretty interesting if they go into that story. They could also head into Liv and Io. They have had matches before. There's some history there. So yeah, I think Io can tell a story with either one of those two, and it'll be an amazing match because Io can obviously never put on a bad match. She's the best women's wrestler in the world right now. So yeah, I think that Io will be winning the Queen of the Ring, and I don't see anybody else really winning. Maybe Charlotte, but I don't know. But yeah, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. That is my Queen and King of the Ring prediction video. So without that being said, make sure you guys hit that follow button and make sure you guys are subscribed if you do want more content. I will be trying to come out with more videos. I am just starting back with my content, so work with me, bear with me, guys. I will be back and with more content. So make sure you hit that follow button, and ENT Building will see you guys in the next video.